In today's video, what I'm going to talk about is the fundamentals to spiking a girl's emotions, okay? And specifically how you can learn how to spike a girl's interest, spark some interest, hook her interest, and also start to develop real attraction, okay? So what you'll get in this video is how to spike a girl's emotions, also how much of her emotions you need to spike in order to spark interest and to start developing attraction, as well as the biggest mistakes guys are making when trying to spike a girl's emotions. And if you stay towards the end of the video, what I'm actually going to share with you is the actual physical techniques that you can actually start to apply in order to spike a girl's emotions, to spark interest, and also to start developing attraction, because I'm going to actually dive deep into the core fundamental to spiking a girl's emotions. So make sure that if you haven't already done so, that you click that subscribe button, and also make sure that you hit the notification bell next to the subscribe button. In that way, you'll always be updated when I create new content and I send out new videos out to you. So what I'm going to draw here is a graph, okay? So here's a basic little graph, okay? And what this graph represents is an interaction, okay? But more specifically, what it represents is, okay, over here, what we've got is, okay, we've got interest, okay, and over here we've got time, okay. So basically in an interaction, okay, we're talking about now a girl's interest over time in the interaction when you are gaming her, okay, and then yeah, basically her interest levels over time, okay. And what we have here is, we'll call this the hook point, okay. So this is the hook point, okay, the infamous hook point. What is the hook point? So the hook point is basically the point in the interaction when you're gaming the girl where she wants you to stay more than she wants you to leave in the interaction. This is basically when you've captured her attention and you've captured her interest, and she wants to get to know you more, or she wants to invest more into the interaction based on her interest in you. Okay, now how do you get to this hook point, or how do you get past this hook point? Okay, you get past this hook point by spiking her emotions, okay. And more specifically, what spiking her emotions is basically you are trying to spike her interest, okay. You're trying to spike her interest, and also what you want to do is spike her attraction, and I'll explain that as we move along. So basically your goal in the interaction, okay, when you open the girl, is you want to get past this hook point, okay. You've opened the interaction and you want to get to the point in the interaction where she wants you to stay more than she wants you to leave, or where she is more interested to have you in the interaction, okay. And you do that by spiking her emotions, okay. And how you do that, again, you start off when you open her, okay, no time in the interaction, zero interest, okay. You open the girl, you start gaming her, and what you're basically trying to do is you're trying to spike her emotions. So you keep spiking her emotions, okay. You spike her emotions to the point where, again, you reach the hook point, okay. And okay, let's just draw it like that. So what you're trying to do here is, in the interaction, you are trying to spike her emotions, okay? And you do that by spiking her interest, okay? I'll talk about spiking attraction later on, but generally what you're trying to do here, okay, in this graph, when you're trying to move it up, is what you're trying to do is you're trying to spike her emotions by spiking interest. Okay, you're trying to increase her interest levels in the interaction and also into you. Okay, now you're spiking her emotions and you're spiking interest. Okay, for what reason? Okay, the reason here is, again, you want to get past this hook point. Okay, and getting past the hook point does what? Okay, getting past the hook point, okay, allows you to consistently, okay, be able to start building attraction. Okay, now you can't build attraction, okay, if, okay, let's say you are below this hook point. Okay, you can't build attraction, okay, if she is not interested in what you have to say or who you are as a person. Okay, you can't build attraction without having her being interested in the interaction and what you're saying, or interested in who you are. Okay, that is why it's important that when you interact with a girl, okay, when you're in the interaction, you want to get past this hook point, and you do that by spiking her interest. Okay, you do that by spiking her interest, as I've shown you over here. You spike her interest, okay, to the point where you've reached the hook point or you've passed the hook point. Okay, so basically these spikes in interest, what it allows you to do, okay, the main reason why you're doing this, okay, is it's allowing you time to attract her. Okay, so what it's allowing you to do is it's buying you time to actually attract her. Okay, attraction. So spikes in interest buy you time to attract her. Okay, and again, if you have no interest, if she has no interest in what you have to say or who you are, then you won't be able to develop attraction. That is why hooking is so important. Okay, the idea of hooking is so important because what hooking does is it helps you, okay, hooking helps you to reach the hook point, okay, more consistently. It allows you to get to this point and past this point more consistently, because what hooking does is it allows you to have more interesting conversations and be more of an interesting male, okay? Which again, if she is interested in what you have to say or who you are, then you will have more time to attract her. You will be able to start developing attraction more consistently. And that's why hooking is so important, okay? Now, what you'll also notice is when it comes to spiking emotions, that in the beginning of the interaction, when you haven't reached the hook point, you'll see that you may need to spike her emotions more and spike her emotions more regular, okay, in order to get her past this hook point. Okay, so earlier on in the interaction, you'll see that you'll need more spikes of interest and more regular spikes of interest, okay, till the point where you get past the hook point. And as you can see, you'll start to need less spikes of interest. Okay, and this is important to understand, because what this means is that you don't need to be interesting all the time. Okay, you don't need to be interesting 100% of the time. Okay, again, all you are doing with these spikes in interest is you are buying yourself time. Okay, you're buying yourself time to attract her. Okay, you buying yourself time to start developing attraction. So you don't need to be interesting all the time. But in the beginning, you might need to be more interesting than later on in the interaction once you've reached the hook point. Because again, the point here is you want to develop attraction. And this is very, very, very important to understand, because the biggest mistake guys make when they learn how to spike interest, or they learn how to hook girls using the hooking ideas and the hooking techniques that we teach, is guys forget what the end goal here is. Okay, hooking or spikes in interest is just a means to an end. It's a means to help you develop attraction. Okay, and the biggest mistake guys make is they end up just spiking the girl's emotions throughout the entire interaction. Okay, they spike the emotions too much, too often, okay, to a point, okay, and this is very, very important, to a point where there's a point in the interaction, okay, and there's a point in the girl's interest levels where if you go beyond this point of her interest levels, she begins to see you as what we call the dancing monkey or the entertainer. Okay, she sees you as the dancing monkey, entertainer. So basically what I'm saying here is, if you spike her emotions too much, too often, okay, throughout the entire interaction, there's a point that if you spike her emotions past this point, okay, she starts to see you as a dancing monkey and an entertainer. Okay, and at that point where she sees you as a dancing monkey and entertainer, her attraction for you actually starts to drop. Okay, the attraction for you actually starts to drop. Okay, and this is not a good place to be, because once she sees you as a dancing monkey or entertainer and the attraction drops, okay, it's very, very hard to get back from this point. Okay, once you get past this point and she sees you as an entertainer, okay, she stops seeing you as an attractive male. Okay, and all she wants you to do is entertain her, because all you're doing is you're pumping her emotions. Okay, and you're just the entertainer. Keep making me happy, keep making me laugh, keep dancing, you little monkey, keep going monkey, and you're now the monkey and not an attractive male. So it's very, very important to understand that you don't want to spike her emotions. You don't want to spike her interest too far up where she starts to see you as a dancing monkey or entertainer. Okay, the goal here is, and this is very important, the goal here is you want to spike her interest enough. Okay, you want to spike her interest enough that it's past the hook point. Okay, your spikes of interest must stay above the hook point. Okay, but it must be enough, okay, that it's not too much seen as a dancing monkey, but enough to be past the hook point. Okay, your spikes of interest must be enough to stay above the hook point, okay, and enough until, again, enough until raw attraction starts to develop. Okay, it should be enough until raw attraction starts to develop. Okay, so you want to get to the point in the interaction where eventually raw attraction should take over, so that you don't have to keep being as interesting. Okay, you don't have to keep spiking her emotions to the point where you could be seen as a dancing monkey. Okay, so you spike her interest levels, and you develop spikes in interest that must stay above the hook point, okay, but still enough so that raw attraction can take over, okay, so that you don't have to keep being as interesting, okay. It needs to get to the point where she's interested in what you have to say, to the point where she's interested in who you are as a person, to the point where she's actually attracted to you as a person, okay. So it could start off where she's interested in what you have to say, then she's interested in you as a person, and then she's actually attracted to you, okay. And that could happen in those steps where she's interested in what you have to say, who you are, and then attraction builds over, or all three of those happen at the same time, okay. And obviously it changes depending on the girl, based on calibration and based on the interaction itself. But again, the goal here is you want to spike her interest enough to be interesting, but also enough until raw attraction takes over. Okay. Now, let's talk about the hook point. Okay. The infamous hook point. Now, what makes the hook point be at the level where it is? Okay. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that, but the main significant reason, okay, one of the most important reasons why the hook point is where it is in the girl's interest levels is based on the vibe that she is in, okay. And this is very important, and this is why we talk about GPS in surgical method, okay. GPS, which is genuine, okay, playful, and sexual, okay. This hook point, okay, a big important part of where it is right now is based on the girl's vibe. And the girl can be in any one of these three vibes. She can be in a genuine vibe, a playful vibe, or a sexual vibe, okay. And based on the vibe that she's in will determine the level of her hook point in the interaction, okay. And this is so key to understand, because many guys don't understand this part of trying to hook a girl. They don't understand the vibe that she's in, and what happens is, even though they are using the right techniques to spike interest and to spike her emotions, they could be doing it in a wrong vibe, which still ends up blowing themselves out of the set, okay. So for example, a girl could be in a genuine vibe, but the player comes into the interaction more cocky, funny, more teasing, more playful, okay, and still trying to spike her interest and her emotions. But because he's coming in playful and she's genuine, okay, she sees that, oh, this guy's not socially aware of the vibe of this interaction, okay. He's probably a low value child. He doesn't understand what's going on. He's a social violator, blows you out of set, and you end up thinking, while I was doing the right techniques, how come I still got blown out of set? It's because you didn't identify the vibe that she's in. And let me explain this a little further. Okay, so the hook point could be, again, the hook point is based on her vibe, okay. And let's say this hook point here is the hook point when she's in a playful vibe, okay. Now, if she's in a playful vibe and that's a hook point, what if she's in a genuine vibe? Okay, a genuine vibe is, well, playful vibe is she's more like she's more in a, how can I say, she's more in a laughing state, a more high state, okay, a higher state of emotions. She wants to laugh, she wants to dance, she's more playful, versus if she's more genuine, where her vibe is more lower, okay, she doesn't want to laugh all the time, she wants to be a little bit more chilled, a little bit more serious, okay, which means that her hooking point in a genuine vibe could be somewhere down here. Okay, so this is her hook point when she's in a genuine vibe. Okay, now as you can see, the spikes of emotions, okay, and this is crazy, the spikes of emotions, okay, that got you past the hook point when she was in a playful vibe, okay, are the same spikes of emotions. Okay, let me just write here: dancing monkey entertainer, playful, P for playful, okay, which means that now her dancing monkey entertainer level could be somewhere lower because it's now a lower state, a lower vibe. Okay, so dancing monkey entertainer genuine. So as you can see now, the same spikes of emotion that got you past her hook point when she was in a playful vibe, okay, are the same spikes of emotion that actually blow you out when she's in a genuine vibe, okay. The same techniques, the same spikes and emotions blow you out when she's in a genuine vibe, okay, the same ones that got you past the hook point when she was in a playful vibe, okay. And this is why this may be you realize that the game that you run, the stuff that allowed you to hook the girl in night game actually blows you out in day game, okay, because the girl is in a different vibe, okay. And this could be you might be running the same type of game that you run in a night game. In the club is the same type of game that you're trying to run when you're trying to pick up a girl in the mall or in a shopping center, and that same game is actually blowing you out of set, because the key fundamental here is that you're not understanding, you're not identifying what vibe the girl is in, okay. And this is super important, okay. And that is why when it comes to hooking is that you've got hooking, okay. There's hooking techniques that you use when the girl is in a playful vibe, and there's specific hooking techniques that you use when she's in a genuine vibe, okay, because the amounts of spikes that you need and the how often you need to spike her is different when she's in a playful vibe than when she's in a genuine vibe, okay. You'll see that in a genuine vibe, maybe you need only 1 or 2 spikes to get past the hooking point, okay, whereas in a playful vibe, you need maybe 4 or 5 spikes in the emotion to get past the hooking point. And those same 4 or 5 spikes that get you past the hooking point in a playful vibe actually blow you out when the girl is in a genuine vibe, okay. And this is why identifying and correctly recognizing the girl's vibe is super important, because as a player, as a surgical player, what you want to do is you want to match her vibe initially in the interaction, whatever vibe she is. Once you match her vibe, then you can slowly change it to the vibe that you want to get her in, okay. And this is what we teach our guys, is that you match the vibe that she's in, okay. Once you match the vibe that she's in, then you can slowly take the vibe of the interaction as a whole to the vibe that you want to take it to. Obviously, when you close a girl and you have sex with her, you sleep with her, you do it in a more sexual vibe. So you want to be able to take the girl through the vibe that she's in, take her then through a genuine, a playful, back to genuine, back to playful, and then eventually to sexual, okay. It's hard for you to do that if you don't match your vibe in the beginning, because if you don't match your vibe in the beginning, then you're just basically going to blow yourself out, because she can see, it's evidence to her that you are not socially aware of what's going on in the interaction, okay. And this is why TPS is so important. And as you can see, this is the key foundation and the key fundamentals to spiking a girl's emotion, because if you don't understand this, okay, it doesn't matter the techniques that you're using, okay, because you might be using the right techniques in the wrong environment, or the right techniques in the wrong vibe, okay. And you might be thinking that your game sucks, okay. It sucks because you're not applying the right techniques at the right time, and this is why calibration is important, okay. And it's not a linear model, as you can see, because again, it could change according to her vibe. Okay, her vibe could change in the interaction itself. Okay, she could go from being playful to being genuine. Okay, and then you still trying to playfully spike her emotions, and then you end up blowing yourself out because you're not actually correctly identifying her vibe. So this is why it's very, very important to understand. This is not a linear model. Okay, it's a model that you need to calibrate to based on what point she is in terms of her interest levels in the interaction itself. Okay, so let's actually now talk about these spikes in emotions. Okay, the actual spikes in emotions themselves. Okay, these spikes in emotions. Okay, what techniques, what physical techniques, okay, can you start to use to actually develop these spikes in emotions and these spikes in interest? Okay, let's now talk about these spikes themselves. Okay, so these spikes, okay, the spikes themselves, okay, what actual techniques can you use? Okay, there's quite a lot of techniques that we actually break down deeper, each technique deeper in surgical method, but I'm just going to give you a basic outline of the techniques that you can use to spike her emotions. Okay, first is your hooking techniques. Okay, your hooking techniques which help you to develop interest. Okay, so hooking techniques that you can use. Okay, there's cold reads. Okay, it's cold reads. There's stories. There's also games. And there's also facts. Okay, those are your hooking techniques. Okay, you also have your breaking rapport techniques. Breaking rapport, such as your negs. Okay, you've got your push-pull. You also have things like your false disqualifiers, FDQs. Okay, and then you actually have your DHV spikes, okay, themselves, and these are specifically the spikes that are going to help you to actually start to develop solid attraction. So your DHV spikes, and these are the spikes that actually help you to trigger some attraction switches in the girl. Okay, so these are the techniques that you use to spike her emotions, because again, when you spike her emotions, you can spike her emotions through spiking interest or through spiking attraction. Okay, and some of these techniques actually can do both, depending on the line, the technique that you're using, depending on the vibe that she's in, depending on the interest level and how far that technique spikes her interest. Okay, so here they are, your hooking techniques, your breaking rapport techniques, and your actual DHV, which is a demonstration of high value. Okay, because the value and the higher value actually is what helps you to now eventually build raw attraction with the girl. This is basically a fundamental analysis of how to spike a girl's emotions, okay, and what techniques you need to use to spike a girl's emotions, and basically understanding why and how, okay, you need to spike her emotions in the first place. Okay, it's going to be hard for you to develop attraction. It's going to be hard for you to develop interest in the interaction if you don't understand this key fundamental aspect of the whole thing. That's it for today. What I want you to do is leave a comment as to which techniques, okay, which techniques that help you to spark attraction are your strong points. Okay, maybe your strength is you spike emotions through hooking techniques, or you spike emotions through breaking rapport. Maybe you spike emotions through demonstrating high value, through DHV spikes. Okay, comment which ones are your strength, and also comment which techniques are your weaknesses. Okay, maybe you finding it hard, or you still haven't developed the skill to develop spiking emotions through breaking rapport, maybe through DHB spikes, put a comment there, okay? And the reason why you're putting a comment is that you can make it aware to yourself where your weak points are, so that now you can actually start working on developing your weak points, so that it can now help to supplement the strengths that you have, and that now you can have a solid way that you know you can start spiking her emotions more consistently over time and through each interaction. That's it for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. I'm out.